Mr. Speaker, this weekend we saw a referendum in Crimea that took place in the shadow of a Russian military intervention in Ukraine. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that the referendum was illegal, illegitimate and in direct violation of the terms of the Ukrainian constitution? Does he also share my deep concern following the news that a Ukrainian serviceman was shot and killed at a military base in Crimea yesterday?
Well, the right honourable gentleman is absolutely correct that the referendum in the Crimea is illegitimate and illegal. It was spatchcocked together in 10 days and held at the point of a Russian Kalashnikov. This cannot be accepted or legitimised by the international community. I think we should be absolutely clear about what has happened here. This is the annexation, effectively, of one country's territory by another country, and we must be absolutely clear about our interests, which is to see a rules-based international system where countries obey the rules. And if we turn away from this crisis and don't act, we will pay a very high price in the longer term. So we should be clear that this referendum is illegitimate. We must be clear that consequences must follow, and we should work with our European partners and with the United States for a strong, consistent and robust response.
I thank the Prime Minister for that answer, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask him about the meetings that are coming up. The White House has indicated that their sanctions will be expanded, and I'm sure the whole House will support the idea that the list of Ukrainian and Russian officials targeted by asset freezes and travel bans will also be extended at the EU Council meeting tomorrow. Can I ask the Prime Minister to tell us the circumstances in which will be supporting also additional wider economic and trade sanctions on the Russian Federation?
As we discussed previously in the House, the European Union set out some very clear triggers. We said that if the Russians did not take part in a contact group with the Ukrainian government to take forward discussions, then asset freezes and travel bans should follow. Those have been put in place at the Foreign Affairs Council on Monday, and I believe further action on that front should be taken at the European Council of Ministers, which I'll take part in on Thursday. I also think we should be responding to the fact of this annexation. That we said that if there was further action to destabilise the Ukraine, and this annexation is that action, further consequences need to follow. We need to set that out on Thursday in concert with our European partners, and at the same time, I think we need to put down a very clear warning that if there is further destabilisation, for instance going into the eastern Ukraine in any way, then we would move to a position of the sorts of economic sanctions that we discussed in the House last month.
You know that from this side of the House you will have our support for the toughest possible diplomatic and economic measures against the Russian Federation, given the totally illegitimate actions that they have taken. I also welcome the announcement yesterday that the G7 allies will gather next week in The Hague. Mr. Speaker, given Russia's actions, it seems inconceivable that they can remain in the G8. So does the Prime Minister now agree that this meeting of the G8 should go further and explicitly decide to suspend Russia from the group of G8 advanced economies?
Well, I was one of the first people to say that I thought it was unthinkable for the G8 to go ahead as planned. We were one of the first countries to suspend all preparations for that G8, and I strongly support the G7 meeting of countries that will take place on Monday. I think it's important we move together with our allies and partners, and I think we should be discussing whether or not to expel Russia permanently from the G8 if further steps are taken. That's the meeting we'll have on Monday, and I think that's the right way to proceed.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Questions to the Prime Minister. Naomi Long.
Question number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I've been asked to reply on behalf of my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, who is visiting Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the whole House will wish to join me in paying tribute to Sapper Adam Morley from 32 Engineer Regiment. who tragically died in Camp Bastion on the 5th of March. He'll be greatly missed by his family and friends, and our deepest sympathies are with them at this time. Mr. Speaker, on a happier note, I'm sure the whole House would also like to join me in paying tribute to our first Team GB Winter Paralympic gold medal winner, Kelly Gallagher, and her teammate, Jade Etherington, who's also won silver and bronze medals at the Sochi Games. And I, of course, wish to send the best of luck to the other Team GB competitors. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others in addition to my duties in this House. I shall have further such meetings later today.
Naomi Long.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and if I could too add my sympathies to the families that were
Reverend William McRae.
Mr. Speaker, I join the Foreign Secretary in expressing our deepest sympathy to the families of our fallen heroes and pray Belfast International
I'm sure Conservative backbenchers wish to hear
You
from
broke my heart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Department of Health accepts
Broke it in
the most
two.
effective way of treating cancer. Despite this, the Department has spent
Some days I just don't know
cancer drugs this year, but less than a third
what I'm supposed to do. And when I see
There
you,
are deep concerns, however, that this link is at risk because
trouble ain't far
barrier rather than
behind.
strategy that ensures our international airport maintains its
You made me cry a million tears. They say that it gets better with the passing of the years.
said that local people should have more control.
But when I think of you,
Can he explain to the House and the public
trouble ain't far
against that?
behind.
Which would ensure that there is local consultation, that people ask me. But I have to say, I'm intrigued by her line of inquiry, given their record in the NHS. We don't
I wanna tell you
what's happening in Wales, where they haven't met their targets.
what I am feeling,
It was that party opposite when in government that entered into a succession
but the
of sweetheart deals,
words
covert
won't come out
privatisation of
right.
NHS. I really don't think, after the Francis report and all the other revelations of what happened in the NHS under Labour,
You left me crying.
Even prepared to
There's no denying. Turn my sunshine to the darkest night.
stepped in and stopped it. But oh no, here's what they did instead.
Someday I'll
They said they were against the change, then they put down an
find
amendment, then they sold out
somebody
to the toys
new.
on their way again.
private sector under house.
Then you will know
So they are only paid in the
exactly what you put me through.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly.
Until that day,
Well, on market, you don't see the whole country.
trouble ain't far
They know very well.
behind.
If you look at the taxpayer, it's £900. They are not.
Until that day,
They're going
trouble ain't far
where there is a pension
behind.
not working, and another one that is where somebody can receive the needs tested pension guarantee. And they when they're looking at universal credit further down the road, they ask a specific question. We get to set finally what we do with that. So that's all I'm saying. It is not our it's not about punishing anybody. This is about trying to reallocate the housing. Those days are over. Let's not volunteer for a work
send a very clear message to the Russian government that what has happened is unacceptable and should have consequences, and were further action to be taken, that would be even more unacceptable and would require even more consequences. All of those three things matter. Those three things we'll be discussing here today. We will not give up on this mission. Afghanistan must never again be a safe Afghanistan. And the focus right now is, as I said, on trying to achieve this bloody So the way we should try to getting into a cricket match and explaining the rules to you and some of the terminology that you'll have to try and get straight. The irony is that the West is simply appalling and shouldn't be allowed to stand in our world.
I concur with everything David said. The only thing I would add